Hello, my name is Alon Bender, and what I want to share with you is a recent success story, and there may be some good takeaways for all of you that are looking to sell AI solutions to customers. So, this AI solution is called AI Care Expert, and the customer here is a healthcare provider, and I built an AI solution for them. And what I wanted to share is at the end of the project and after we deliver the solution or we let it run for a couple of weeks, I put together an executive summary, and that's a different approach to selling AI solutions. I've seen all kinds of videos on YouTube about many people that are trying to build their own AI agencies and how to sell AI agents, AI automations, etc. But I've yet to see anyone that is really focusing on breaking down what does it take to sell an AI solution that is that is proven, and what how do you actually make it happen? How do you uh, communicate and convey enough value to a customer around an AI product? AI is an emerging space. Generative AI is an emerging space. And it's not easy to really um, uh, convince the buyer, the decision makers, why they need AI. And the solution or the way to solve this is really not to talk about generative AI, AI chatbots, AI agent, AI automations, AI this and or AI that, but really to solve a problem the customer is having, where they may be able to reduce resources that are spent on performing specific tasks or gain an advantage. And now the question is, how do we package all of that in a way that is concise, in a way that we are able to maximize the perceived value of the AI solutions? The AI is just a means to deliver a solution to a problem leading to a business outcome. How do we measure that? How we quantify it so that we can take the same concept and replicate it again and again and again, moving from selling one off solutions or maybe getting lucky with one customer to something that is much more systematic, something that you can replicate, you can train others. If you have salespeople working for you, or if you are doing sales yourself, how you can take that success and replicate that again and again and again. So what I've done, I use basically all of my experience as a sales engineer, previously working for some of the largest cybersecurity SaaS companies in the industry. And I use the same methods that allowed me to sell $85 million of SaaS solutions to customers here in the US over the last 20 years. And I incorporated all of those methods now into AI, where I did build the AI solution, but really I was able to package it in a way that now is repeatable. So it's not a one-off. It's not just a project. It's not just selling AI services or AI automation services, but it's really taking something that we're able to be successful with. And one, how do we communicate that value to the customer even after they purchase the solution? So very similar to any SaaS product, there's always ARR, right? So there's the annual recurring revenue, or MRR, monthly recurring revenue, where customers can opt to renew or not renew. In this case, we did sign an agreement for 1 year, but at any point of time they can cancel out of that agreement, and we definitely don't want that to happen. On the contrary, we want them to see more and more value out of that AI solutions that we deliver. So that's point number one. Point number two is, who is seeing the value on the customer side. So it's really important that not only the person that I've been working with, maybe in the marketing department or the IT or the technical side, but it's really the business owners and the executives that sign the checks, whether it's the chief financial officer or the owner, in this case, the owners of this healthcare provider, they will be able to digest what it is that they're actually getting out of the AI solution. What problem are we solving? How can we quantify the value in a simple way that they can digest that and communicate that internally very easily? And based on my personal experience, this is the difference between repeatable success and just getting lucky. So we definitely want to be able to, as I said earlier, we want this to be a consistent process where we can take something that we were able to be successful with. We found a product market fit, and now we are able to make that impact much stronger with the existing customer and also take that to other customers following the same framework or the same process. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to share with you the anonymized version of the presentation that I delivered to the executives at this healthcare provider. And you may get inspired, and you may implement some of these concepts when you sell your own solutions. The concepts are not unique to AI, but obviously AI being new, the ability to tie that and explain in a simple manner to decision maker what did we actually solve, how do we measure it, why you should care, and why you should want to keep the solution and grow that solution, and maybe also give us testimonials and become a reference. That's the difference. So let's just dive right into it. So I'm going to share the executive summary. Like I said, I anonymize it. So the company here, this is a healthcare provider. We'll call that healthcare provider Acme. The name of the AI solutions that we deliver is AI Care Expert, which is less important right now. So at the beginning of this engagement with the customer, we clearly agreed what are we looking to solve? What is the mission? Why are we here? This is critical. This is really our success criteria. So what I did, I met with the executive, not just marketing, not just IT, and we agreed on what it is that they are looking to solve. And I distilled that into a simple, concise mission statement that now at the end of the project, I was able to go back to the customer and state the following, which is what you're seeing on the screen: get more patients while providing better patient experience online. I don't see AI here. It's not about AI. It's not about using LLM and RAG and generative and NLP, NLU, and all of the acronyms that no one really cares about. And that's not what will make us successful based on my experience. So this is the way I presented that. Now that we completed the project, the AI solution ran for a couple of weeks, so we have data. Now I got back to the customer. It's very important to really provide them with this executive summary. Next. So in this second slide, we are focusing on healthcare here. I just congratulated the customer that they joined the mega trend, as I'm sure many of you are aware, but outside of people that really track AI, when you think about customers, your target customers, in this case, the vertical is healthcare, but it can be any other vertical. You may be solving problems in finance or in manufacturing or retail, it doesn't matter. They don't follow the news. And the purpose of this just following the statement is really a reaffirmation. So we want to reaffirm and really convey to the customer that they are in a great company, they made a decision, they spent the money, we went through the journey, We deploy the solution. We have the solution up and running. By the way, congratulations, you just joined an exclusive club that is very big and it is a mega trend. And in healthcare, that's actually one of the fastest adopters of AI as compared to any other vertical. So that's a very good piece of information. The other thing that I've done here is I showed the executives the journey. So when we started off with the prototype, which is what you're seeing on the left-hand side of the screen. So before, when we just started the engagement and we were talking about AI and I explained verbally what they can do, immediately after that, it took me, I don't know, a couple of days just to build a very basic AI chatbot with basic knowledge base, basically their website, Q&A with their website, so they can experience the power and the possibilities with AI. So that was the first thing that we have done. So on the left-hand side, that's the prototype that they basically interacted with. That's several people that interacted with AI, and then they started to see the power of AI, that AI can answer questions that are specific to their practice 24/7 in multiple languages. And then we basically, following that definitely created excitement. And that's where we were able to sign the contract, to agree on the pricing, and to get to production with what you're seeing on the right-hand side of the screen. So from my perspective, it's really important to show the customer when you made a decision, actually this is what we showed you. We showed you a very basic AI chatbot, text-based only, and now in production you have this. Now, they already know what they have in production on the website because they've seen it and they interacted with it, but still, it's very important, one, to have this executive summary, I can't stress it enough, and number two, to really summarize where we started, that they got excited, and look where we ended. We obviously delivered a high-quality product, and we want to visualize it in a very easy to understand way. So with the product that we eventually delivered in production, it's much more robust, it's much more rich, includes media, includes videos, includes images, includes, in this case, 2 separate interfaces. So not just the prompt is multilingual, but the entire interface is English and Spanish. And that's really the journey that we went through. And that's just the beginning. I'm not going to spend too much time here, but I do want to make a point. And the point that I want to make is when I sold different solutions, different AI solutions, some of them were very quick. Some of them, frankly, took me a couple of hours to build. And others took weeks, and others, like this one, took months, because the one thing that we don't have control over when we develop AI solutions is the feedback from the customer. So the lesson that I learned here is it's very important to get commitment from the customer, to have the right stakeholders. So if you need to go through different steps or different approvals, in this case, especially in the healthcare industry where accuracy is very important, and privacy and some other considerations, and the right messaging, and the customer, when you work with the marketing, they may change the messaging as you build the AI solution, so there's lots of interaction with the customer. So the lesson that I learned is that at some point I just noticed that this is starting to drag for a very long period of time. I completed building the back end, the front end, the integration, the CRM integration, the API calls, the repositories. I built the entire back end and front end, but I was waiting for feedback, and every time the feedback came back, I needed to make changes, and some of those required me to go back and reconstruct some of the modules that I used in the previous version. So what I decided to do is I decided to set a cadence with the customer, and those were weekly calls with their team. And during those weekly calls, I explained that in order for us to really accelerate and be able to incorporate their feedback into the AI solution and get their feedback after we made those changes, we need to get into a cadence if we want to meet an acceptable timeline from their perspective. And they absolutely agreed and they absolutely understood. So the other takeaway, something that I learned during this interaction, is we ran hundreds of tests. I mean, if I compare that to other AI solutions that we've built for other customers, those were very easy, very short. The cycles for feedback were extremely short. I got maybe 3, 4 emails offline around, hey, I would like you to add this, or the scheduling system should get redirect to that. So fairly small adjustments, or in a certain scenario, I would like the response to be adjusted to a different response about who we are. So really minor changes, but in this case, the feedback itself started to be cumbersome to manage because we end up running hundreds of tests. And now I ran into basically a challenge around how do I communicate in the most effective way that those changes were implemented, ask the customer to perform tests, and then provide their feedback, retest, test on my side, ask them to test on their side, and do that quickly. So the end result of that, and I will show you that shortly, is I decided to build a feedback system, basically, using Airtable. So I deployed Airtable. It's fairly straightforward. If you are a developer, it's very straightforward, very easy to build. And what I did, I recorded all of the AI conversations into the database, and I created an interface, a very nice interface, where the customer can see all of the conversations and they can add their responses if they want to get a different response, or the response was off or needed any tune up. They can do that within that interface. So now we don't need to go back and forth using Google Sheets. That's what we did before. And having Zoom calls and all of that, and capture some additional comments during Zoom, but really build that into the product because I was also thinking long term. How am I going to manage the feedback in the most efficient way, where in the future it might not be me, it might be some other person that works for me, and I need to have a system that makes it much easier both for the customer but also for me, so that I can scale, so we can sell the same solution with the feedback system to many customers, and manage that very effectively. So that was a result of that. So there was a long period of tuning here, not necessarily because there was lots of tuning. The tuning from my perspective was very fast, but every time we did any change to AI, then the feedback back from the customer took time, and then they needed to have multiple people engaged. So all of those things take time. So my strong recommendation is establish cadence, weekly calls. Just set those. That's what I've done. Just set that as a check-in call on the calendar in advance at the beginning of the project, so that everybody's committed and they show up and they know that this is required in order for us to make progress. And the customer is your partner, or is my partner with this project. I can't do that. I can't deliver the solution without the customer. So that's why you're seeing a prolonged timeline here. If I would say, if we were to have an accelerated responses from the customer, I would still say that a project like this would take a few months. maybe 2, maybe 3 months, definitely not days and not couple of weeks. I mean, you can develop something in a couple of weeks with all of the subsystems that I mentioned, probably, but the loop back, the feedback from the customer is really what makes this product very effective, accurate, and productive from day one in production. And that's very important. And I will show you what happened when we went through all of those cycles, what was the end result. Again, I'm not suggesting that every single cycle should take 8, 9 months. That's definitely not what I'm saying. It can take 3, 4 months. That would be probably a good average. But I would highly recommend to make sure that you do work closely with the customer and also explain to the customer that this is their involvement is really required in order for the solution to best deliver on the specifics that is only relevant to their organization based on their knowledge base, their marketing messaging, etc. The other part is doing those check-in calls, ongoing calls. Part of it is also education. Remember that, like I said earlier, we are really selling a solution to solving a problem. So it's not about AI, and really nobody cares that it's AI. We call it AI, generative AI. It's all great, but we are here to win more clients and improve the patient experience with a healthcare provider. That's what we are doing. So during those meetings, you can actually educate the customer so that when you get to the other side of the project, they already feel very confident and comfortable with the end result. Okay, so the other thing that I want to mention here is the platform that I use for flow management is VoiceFlow. VoiceFlow is extremely robust, enterprise-grade platform, and it's very flexible. You can integrate with APIs, so basically you can integrate with almost anything outside of VoiceFlow. But in addition to that, it allows you to have really good control over the conversation flow, over the behavior of AI. So I've seen some solutions out there that they assume that prompt engineering and knowledge base are enough. But what I'm seeing in real life with real customers, it's critical to have control over the flows of the conversation and to implement the business flow to make sure that the business flow is implemented in the AI flow. So that alignment is very important. So that's exactly what we've done. And the reason why I incorporated this blurry image here, and this is just part of the flow architecture, is just to show to the customer that as simple as the chatbot, the AI chatbot looks on the front end, there's a huge amount of effort and complexity that is going on under the hood. And that's exactly the way we want it to be. We want it to be very easy to use from the user perspective, but we want to have all of the benefits of integrations and other things that we perform under the hood. And I want to make sure that the customer can see that visually, and that's extremely powerful because, especially nowadays, when you think about chatbots, those are commoditized. You can get a chatbot either for free if you do it yourself, there's open source, or you can pay whatever a monthly fee, and there are different platforms and different levels. But in order to build something that is effective and is aligned with the business flow, that's a completely different story. And that's really what we built here. And we want to make sure that registers with someone who is not technical. So just visualizing that there is a lot of things going on here in terms of the flow and the time that we invested to develop it, is very important to at least make sure that the customer is aware of that. And also remind yourself, if anyone asks you, so why should I pay you to develop a AI chatbot? Which I would maybe refrain from calling it an AI chatbot. I would call it how I'm going to bring you more clients and improve the patient's experience, which going back to the mission statement. And how I do that, if I solve that, then that's really the value, the outcome, the positive impact to the customer. And in order to be able to deliver on something like that, you can do that with off-the-shelf cheap chatbot with no real uh, complex and robust workflow management. Just there's no way to do that. So that's something that I highlight. Now I'm spending much more time right now on this recording. When I'm in front of the customer, I don't spend more than on this slide. I will not spend more than a few seconds, like 20 seconds, and on the other slides, none of them I will not spend more than 3 minutes per slide. So when you think about delivering this type of executive summary, you have to remember who's the audience, non-technical, and that the focus is on value, on delivering value for a business outcome with a positive impact using your tool. All right, let's continue. So in this case, for this customer, we also developed an AI analytics solution, but again, from their perspective, AI analytics doesn't really mean anything, right? This is again non-technical audience, and we have to remember that. And I'm telling myself all the time, because me being an engineer, I live AI analytics, I live different tools on a daily basis, but that's not how you sell solutions, and that's not how you communicate effectively with customers. So, what basically I'm telling customers here is that, by the way, we build this AI analytics, but really what it does, it allows you to visualize all AI conversations. And what does that mean? That means that for the first time, you are able to unveil what people that are visiting you online are actually looking for. Why is that important? That's important because when you think about how you design your messaging, your marketing, how you even design your website, your landing pages, how you perform your digital marketing campaigns that you spend money on, now for the first time, thanks to AI, we're able to know what people are actually looking for, what they're asking, because we have that interaction with the users. Not 100% of the users, but the users that are actually expressing some level of interest in our brand. In this case, is the healthcare provider. This is gold. So outside of the other things that we do, this is almost like a byproduct, but it's extremely powerful byproduct. And that's why I mentioned that. And by the way, even before the executive meeting, I had a conversation with the marketing manager for this healthcare provider. And when I showed her the reports, what you're seeing here is just a screenshot of the main dashboard, but we have all of the underlying reports as well. The immediate response from the marketing manager was, wow, this is extremely helpful for our marketing because now we can fine tune everything that we do in marketing based on this. So this is extremely powerful. You don't need to set up focus groups or anything like that. You have that real data every day from people that engage with your brand. That's extremely powerful, and this is something that can be implemented, frankly, with any vertical. This is not unique to healthcare. Next, track the meeting requests generated by AI, so they're just part of the dashboard. They created counters and reports so they can see how many consultation requests were booked, and those are paid engagement, by the way. So in this case, the people that actually schedule the consultation requests, those are not free. Those are not free consultations. That's a paid engagement. So, and this data is in the first 2 weeks of usage. So as you can see here, AI already booked 8 paid consultation requests, which is extremely powerful, extremely positive. Next, most asked questions report. So I created the report as part of the AI analytics that allows them to see what are the most asked questions. And that's very easy to do. Now, the other piece is powerful, especially when we are dealing with healthcare providers. And not only. Anywhere where emotional intelligence is something that is part of the customer's journey, in this case, the patient experience journey, we have a big advantage where we now can perform sentiment analysis. And in this case, we implemented that in two ways. One is we adjusted the responses based on the sentiment of the user. And what I did here, I classified that to three different categories. And I'll show you later what those categories are, even though you can see that on the screen, negative, positive, and neutral. And based on that, the responses from AI will be adjusted. So if someone is negative, the responses from AI, everything obviously is in real time before the response is being sent back to the user on the chatbot. It will get basically tuned based on the emotional state of the user. So it will be more empathic if the user is detected as negative. If it's positive, it keeps the mindset or the tone of the response as a high energy. So you want to be where the human user is at. You don't want to be very formal, very factual, but you want to have more dynamic responses. And this is the difference between something that is very mechanical, very robotic, versus something that gives you higher conversion rates. And that's why we made that effort. So that's number one. And number two is the fact that, especially with healthcare, in this case, healthcare provider, where we are dealing with humans and they may go through different emotional states. They may have some medical conditions that they are dealing with. Now, for the first time, the healthcare provider can see a report on how their patients feel even before the first meeting. And that's extremely powerful, not because I say it, because that's what they told me. So from the doctor's perspective, they're actually looking for ways to tune the way that they deal with their patients by asking them questions. They do that today already. But what if now we have this system that is less subjective, it's not a human, it's AI, and we detect a sentiment in text, and now all of those reports, all of that information is available to the staff, to the medical staff, so they can take a look at that even before the first consultation meeting and adjust their approach based on that state. So that's extremely powerful. This is, like I said earlier, this is almost like a byproduct. This is not the main thing here. The main thing is get more clients and enhance the patient's experience. This is related to the patient's experience. Yes, we're able to enhance the patient experience by doing all of those things, adjusting the conversation based on the state of the user, and unveiling all of that information to the medical staff. So I have an example here. So I want to make sure that the executives there understand, okay, that's a big topic in healthcare. So what does it actually look like? So I just took a quick screenshot, including a text that I also included in the dashboard itself, so they can actually click on the information here, and that will give them this text. And that goes back to the three states that I mentioned earlier: positive, negative, neutral. What does that mean? And by having these three classifications or three categories, it's very easy to, one, understand. So if they are looking at the dashboard, or if they are looking to see, okay, we have a consultation meeting with this person, let's see what state they are in, okay? And two, it also allows us not just to fine-tune the behavior in real time when AI response back to the user according to their state based on that classification. That's great. But in addition to that, we can see change in behavior, which I think is also very, very interesting, and they find it to be very powerful. What do I mean by that? This user at 12:44 p.m. was in a neutral mindset, so factual, no strong feelings, and they continued the conversation. A few minutes later, they turned from neutral to positive. So those trends in behavior with the ability to read the conversation is extremely powerful from their perspective, because again, they treat people, they treat those users. Those are not just users, those are humans that are going through certain medical conditions, and unveiling what caused them to move from neutral to positive is extremely powerful and very telling, and allows the medical team, the medical staff, to fine tune their treatment and to understand some triggers about that person. It's unique to each person. Now, I'm not saying that this is 100% accurate or the holy grail, or that the doctors should stop doing what they did up until now. I'm not saying that at all, but this is another dimension, another way to understand how their people feel. And by the way, I'm using the term people here on purpose. It's not a mistake, because not all of them are turned into patients. Actually, the vast majority are people that are, and they ended up on their website. They're doing research to decide if they want to engage with this healthcare provider. And during that engagement, during those conversations, now they're moving from state neutral to state positive. Let's understand that. So this is also outside of the patient experience, just the ability to understand what impacts people in what way. Having that type of context is extremely powerful. Not my words, the customer words. I just showed them what we built, and that was the reaction. Let's move on. So I think we already covered this. So I would like to maybe highlight something that I mentioned earlier: AI tuning and feedback system. So this is really what it looks like. So this is an interface that the customer has access to. When I say the customer, the healthcare provider team, the admin team, and they have secure access to the system. On the left-hand side, they can see all of the users that we're having, all of the conversations, and then they can see the conversation, the request from the user request, AI response, and here they can enter their comments about that response. If they want that response to, they want us to fine tune the response, or the response was off or not accurate, or they have new information that they want us to train AI on when they're being asked for that question, then that allows us to basically gather that information from the customer in a very effective way, because they can do that offline. We don't need to be on Zoom. We don't need to interact over email or endless spreadsheets. I tried the spreadsheet. It's great, but at some point of time, it starts to break down. It's not scalable, and it's very confusing. So that's why I built that as an application, as an interface. So what should be the desired response, and then they can select whether it's a bad response or a good response. And we are getting an automated notification when they provide feedback, and then on our side, we can take a look at their comments and do what we need to do. And we also build a system that monitors and creates reports around bad responses versus good responses, so they can even see the history of all of that feedback system. So now I'm getting probably to the most important part of this presentation. If you're still here, that's great, because this is really the most important part. And if there's one takeaway, is what I'm going to show you here. This is the way, the most effective way, based on everything I've done in my career as an entrepreneur, as a very successful sales engineer working for some of the largest SaaS companies in the US, And that's really what made me successful, and that's how I'm able to be successful also with AI. So what I did here is basically I created a funnel, and the funnel goes like this. So how Acme healthcare provider AI works in the last 2 weeks. Let's take a look. So what we measured is web traffic over the 2 weeks period of time. You can see the dates here. And by the way, those numbers, I took them from Google Analytics. One of the things that I'm doing whenever I'm working with customers, one of the first things is if they don't already have Google Analytics, we deploy Google Analytics. If they already have, I ask for access because this allows me to one to better understand their website, the traffic, and different behaviors that will directly impact how we are going to implement AI. So this is really the alignment between the ability to build an AI solution and to build the right AI solution for this specific customer. So I highly encourage, I don't see myself doing that in any other way. If you are not familiar with Google Analytics, you're a bit technical, it's a no-brainer. It's very easy. Once you get used to it, it's very easy. It's very powerful. And by the way, it's free. There's no reason for anyone that runs the website not to have Google Analytics. Obviously, we use Google Analytics on all of our websites. So all of these numbers are taken from Google Analytics. So what you see here, that the web traffic in those 2 weeks, 3219, minus 926 and minus 205, because those are two landing pages where we don't have AI running. So I excluded those 2 pages, which is a significant amount of traffic. That's 1/3 of the traffic. So we actually engage, we see 2088 users, out of which now we talk about engagement, the AI engagement. 48 users engage with the AI chatbot, which is 2.3% of users. And if you ask me alone, is this high, low, medium? There's no high, there's no low, there's no medium. And if someone says they have exact numbers, good luck. But I would say this is a very healthy range. It will vary from vertical to vertical. Think about the type of users that are going to a healthcare provider website. There's lots of research, so they tend to be more interactive versus if they just go onto even real estate websites. How I know? We have real estate companies as our customers, and their conversion rates are very different. So 48 users out of that, that's 2.3%. And by the way, we also count the number of conversations. Why? Because we want to see how much interaction there is, how interactive the conversation is between the users and AI. So it's just another context. But the most important thing is now schedule meetings and decisions. So after those were warmed up to the customer, in this case, software provider, 0.38% converted to paid consultation meetings with the customer during those 2 weeks. So this is basically a funnel. This is only 2 weeks. And one of the things that I say very directly, very bluntly, and I encourage everyone to do the same thing because customers have access to the same data and trust is everything. So what we sell is really trust if you think about it. So what I would say is this may change. This is a sample of 2 weeks. This is the real data. This is customer's data, but it's 2 weeks. So over 30 days will be more accurate. Numbers may vary. I don't know what the percentage will be over a 6 months period, over a quarter, over 12 months, obviously. But this is the data that we see. It's factual. It's real. We have all of the details, the names, the emails, the contacts, and this is what we are able to show. It's solid data. So if you ask me, so how did the customer react when they saw this? Were they expecting higher conversion rate? I will tell you, I will share with you almost the exact words that their executive used, which is because I asked them the same thing. I didn't want to influence their feedback, so I just asked. So these are the numbers. Do you have any thoughts? Do you have anything that you would like to ask or share? What do you think about these numbers? This is what we are seeing. And the response was basically this is very positive because AI is able to generate a new stream of revenue that they didn't have before. So this is, from their perspective, this is pure growth and this is pure value. And this is just measuring conversion of leads to paid engagement. Just the hard conversions. I'm not talking about the sentiment analysis, unveiling all of the data, the AI analytics, all of the other things that I covered earlier. That's why I call it byproduct. Those are nice to have, but this is justifying above and beyond why they should use this AI solution and definitely basically make a very positive impact with their patients and operation. Okay, so what I did, I created an ROI calculator. I use Java and I just JavaScript. I just build my own ROI, and you can even go to my website. You can see the link on the upper right hand side, benderexpert.com/ROI, or you can build your own. So basically, what I did here, this is extremely important. Now, we show a visual of this is the data for 2 weeks, but really we are thinking long term. When we think about value and when we think about the ability to sell solutions for big buck, okay, this is really the way to do that. And the way to do that is to visualize to the executive, to the people that write the check, what is the ROI? What those numbers actually mean? Because it's compounding very significantly, and in the human brain, sometimes when you just see all of the data with the 2 weeks, and after hearing about all of this AI and the dashboard and the reports, you lose track of what it actually do for you. And this is why I built that ROI. So in this case, I took the 2088 users over the 2 weeks period, multiplied that by 2, double that will be a month, 4 weeks. And I use the conversion rate that we've seen in their environment, which is 0.38%. The average selling price for their service. So besides the fact that those are the 8 paid consultation meetings that they have, certain percentages of those are converting to their full service, and that's an average, rough average of the cost of their service is $8,000, and their conversion rate is at 30%, which is pretty conservative. That means that less than a third of those that actually meet with them as part of the paid consultation turn into full paying patients that decide to use their full services, the $8,000. So what does it actually mean? It means that AI just is going to generate for you $38,000 per month on an annual basis for $457,000. So now that allows the customer to really see very direct, very clear value on what is this tool can do for me. Forget AI. It's not about AI. It's about what are we doing here? Are we gaining new customers, new clients? Yes. Are we improving the patient's experience? Absolutely. And then we have 3 and 4 and 5 byproducts and other value that we are getting in addition to all of that. But that's what we call the money shot. This is really what will cause someone to want to pay for this type of project and recommend to others once they can quantify the positive impact, the business outcome of this type of solution. Now, what I did in this case, if you remember 2 slides ago, I showed you that we excluded the 2 landing pages. And there's lots of logic why not to have an AI chatbot on your landing page. On the other hand, I would argue that there's much more logic to add your AI chatbot onto your even your landing pages where you run ad campaigns and you get paid traffic to those landing pages. Because if you're looking at some numbers, some uh, wide averages, it's very rough estimate, but 20 to 40% improvement is what you should expect to see when you add an AI chatbot onto a web page. And going back, just to be even more accurate here, going back to what I showed previously, that funnel is infinite improvement over what was there before, because that's completely new revenue. So when I say 20 to 40%, that's assuming that those landing pages are converted very well. And if we want to be very conservative, we had AI chatbots, some of the users, maybe 2.3%, like we saw earlier, will engage with AI, and that will allow them to maybe convert that otherwise that would have not converted. But that's something that we can measure. So now if I take the same, this is their full traffic. So 1/3 of their traffic is paid traffic going to their 2 landing pages. So if we add AI on those 2 pages, then monthly traffic is what you're seeing on the screen, the 6,438. If we keep the same conversion rate, 0.38%, their average sales price is not going to change, and their win rate, their close rate, 30%, not going to change. You can see the numbers. So if we do that adjustment, we can expect, and this is rough estimate, and another thing that I mentioned to the customer, these are estimates. I don't want to set false expectations. This can vary, but based on the data that we have now and based on some assumptions, we can definitely see improvement. We just don't know how much. Can it be much higher than this? Can it be lower than this? Can it be very close to what you're seeing on the screen? But there's going to be an improvement over no AI, basically. Why? Because we saw that on the website, so we have the proof. So $58,000 per month, a solution like that will generate, and that's 700,000 plus a year based on the exact same number. So those are not small numbers, and you can imagine, when I showed it to the customer, you can imagine what their reaction and what they will consider as next step to add AI. Also, the same AI, there's no additional cost here. I'm not selling them anything. I'm just highlighting the fact I use Google Analytics, I inspected their traffic, I see what's going on, I understand they have paid campaigns, they're paying a lot of money to bring all of the traffic. Why don't we improve that as well? So that's where you become the trusted advisor for your customer. Again, all of this is something that I've been doing for 20 plus years, very successfully selling SaaS solutions, $85 million of products, of software products. And that's how I was able to be successful, is to bring value and compounding value to the customer, now with AI. Now, the other thing that I excluded this part from the presentation with the executives of this specific customer, but if it was a bigger audience, I would keep this section that I decided to skip, and I'm going to share it with you, because this is a very important part, especially for people that maybe a little bit more technical, or even just they want to understand how all of this really integrates into their environment. So I put together a very high level diagram on purpose. We want to keep it simple. We don't want to dive into features, technical details, jargon, terms. You want to stay away from all of that. You will have time outside of this executive meeting, summary meeting, to answer questions. Schedule that separately. Don't do that as part of this engagement because you will lose the executive's attention, the people that you're actually trying to convey the value to, that are going to sign your next check and recommend your next customer, and you're going to completely lose them. So this is really important to be aware of. So in this case, the solution we integrated with the CRM, in this case HubSpot. We also integrated with Google Sheets, so they asked for us to compile every time a lead is generated, we send that to a Google Sheet. Email notifications, that's an email icon, Airtable with the interfaces. That's the dashboard, the reports, and the reporting mechanism that we built with AI analytics. All of that was built around Airtable as the database. And I mentioned Webflow. It's not really important, it's Webflow, but that's really where we host secured access. So user management with secure access is hosted on Webflow, so manage the users there with the group and user level access, and that's how they can gain access to their interface. And so that's really the entire ecosystem. So really and Slack for real-time notifications. So what you see here is that outside of that, obviously the AI chatbot, the analytics, the sentiment analysis with emotional intelligence, all of that information, the feedback mechanism for tune-up, there's a whole ecosystem here. There's a list of integrations that we have done, and that's part of that solution. Now, the executives may not care about that, but other people will. And in some cases, the decision makers may want to know, hey, did you integrate with our CRM, or do we need now to look at a new interface or a new console, or can we use our CRM for retargeting marketing campaigns because you give us the leads, all of that information automatically, and we already have all of the flows, the marketing flows built into CRM. The answer is yes, 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 and yes. So that's the entire. So now this brings me to really the last slide, which is what next. So what next? I summarize the overview, the executive summary, with opportunities. This gave me the opportunity to demonstrate more value and show and demonstrate specifically how everything is performing extremely well, can become even much better, and let me share with you some opportunities without you spending any more money, by the way, Mr. Customer, that you can get even better results. And the way I frame it is not get better results, is maximize maximize the probability of getting better results. What can we do to maximize the opportunity to get even better results? And some of the suggestions are here. I'm not going to go through each one of them. You have that on the screen. You can take a look at it, whether it's adding a link, create a landing page, an empty landing page, just with the chatbot on their website, and take that link and embed that in email signature and social media profiles, and basically inviting their users that are still not ready to schedule a paid consultation meeting, appointment, but they may have some questions and they may feel more even comfortable to talk to an AI, to have a conversation, text conversation with AI in this case, before they feel ready to make a commitment to schedule a consultation with the medical staff. So that's just more exposure. How can we bring more traffic to AI? Because we know that the 2.3% conversion is that's really the how many of those are actually communicated with AI, and then the 0.38 are paid customers. So that's really what I'm saying here. Existing landing page I excluded, so that's what I said earlier. One third of their traffic right now is not included. They don't have AI running on that. That's an opportunity, obviously, to get more exposure. Um, Review conversation, provide feedback, consider different use cases for emotional intelligence. Now, I was trying to quantify the byproduct impact of that emotional intelligence, the sentiment detection that we built into the AI solution, considering the fact that this is healthcare. So frankly, I use that as a talking point to try to quantify if this is nice to have, or is this something that they actually have a specific use case around and how they intend to use it. So, and this is open up some opportunity and also, frankly, opportunity for the future that I may save for a future recording, that we are going to expand that functionality outside of this AI system to a completely separate AI agent that is going to automate the sentiment analysis as part of the medical treatment and make the data available to the doctors throughout that treatment. In their case, it's a long cycle type of treatment. So, and emotional intelligence is something that they do today. They just do that kind of manually, subjectively. So that's something that is of high interest in this case. And I made point number 7, which I'm not going to dive here. So that was the end of my executive summary, and that's how I approach customers. And going back to the mission statement, we build a tool to win more clients and to give them an amazing patient experience, and that's why we build the system. And how did we deliver on that promise? Obviously, the answer is we did very well in this case. And I hope that through this type of recording, you will get some golden nuggets for your use cases, whatever those are, on how to effectively sell, grow, expand when you sell AI solutions at scale.